Hi everyone, it's Karen. Thank you for watching my video. I'm going to do a little video on a seahorse today, and I'm going to be using a range of different paints today. I'm going to use some of these Brusho crystals, which if you haven't used them before, they're amazing colours, really vibrant, different tones in them, and can really give your pictures a little bit more. But you can equally do this video with traditional watercolours if you want, or you can mix the two, which is what I'm going to be doing. You need some watercolour paper, about 300 grams rough, and if you want some reference pictures for seahorses, they've got some lovely ones on Unsplash. You'll notice that this doesn't look anything like a real seahorse. I'm just going to use whichever colours I fancy and just enjoy it. But if you want to find a realistic looking one, then have a look on Unsplash. So here's my sketch. I'll show you that. It's quite light because pencil has a habit of showing through watercolour paint, and it can spoil your paintings. So just if you're sketching anything out, be really careful. So the other things you need to kind of get ready are some kitchen roll, just to dry your brush a bit sometimes, water, some different brushes. I'm using quite a small one today, and a range of paints, like I said, whatever colour you want to do. So I'm going to start by just using water. So I'm just going to put water along just the top edge. Oh, just touched a bit of paint that I had on the paper for some reason. So just a little bit across the top edge. It can a bit puddly. Now, if you're using traditional watercolours, you can just add a bit of dry, with a dry brush, some quite concentrated watercolour paint in there. But what you do with the Brusho crystals is put just a little bit on a very dry brush, and then tap the brush and sprinkle the crystals into where you've put the water. Now I'm using sea green here, which you might think looks a bit dark initially, but once you start playing with it, so I've just cleaned my brush and I've wiped a bit of the water off, and now you can start moving it where you want it. And if you look on some of the reference photos, some of the seahorses have the most amazing, I don't know what it is actually, but this stuff that floats out the top. I'm just pulling it out. See how nice kind of different colours that gives. It's not all one flat colour. You get a range of colours within the colour. You can pick up from some of the darker bits, some of the paint, and then add more water. Just pull it down a bit further. You probably need a bit more, so I'm just going to put some more water in that bit and get a little bit more of my sea green. Just, I'm probably going to need some more water around that tail edge. So just be careful not to get your Brusho tapping brush wet. It's easily done, kind of mixing up which brush to use. Now in this bit with the little fin there, I just sort of pull the bottom bit, and then I don't want a really deep colour there, so I'm just going to pull it out with some water. Like that. That's enough for me to give the image of a fin there. So let's keep going down with this. Now I've got this particular chap with his tail wrapped round some seaweed. Don't worry if you blob paint everywhere. I'm going to be doing that on purpose in a minute, so it's quite handy to have one that ready made. So got the green along the back, and now before that dries too much, I'm just going to add some different colour Brusho. I've got some turquoise here. I just love the blues and greens together, and they're never supposed to be seen together, but I like them. So again, you'll notice with the Brusho crystals, you get light, dark all the time. So I'll put a little bit of the blue. And just add a bit more water to blend that. And if you think you've put too much on, you can dab a bit off with your kitchen roll. So a lot of this now I'm doing with just a wet paintbrush. I don't really want much colour on his tummy. So I'm going to add some coppery tones in a minute. So I quite like that, but I just need to add some more bits coming out the tail there. So I think I'm going to swap to some traditional watercolours just here, just for some of this bit. I'm just using a green that goes. I don't want too much on this coming out the back. I don't think it does, but Okay, so tummy, just a little bit, so I'm going to put some water on first, and then got some copper, Brusho. Just gonna, this is a different consistency to other Brusho, it's a bit odd, but it does work. Put it on, and you just need to put it where you want it. It's quite textured. It gives a nice effect. Okay, so while that's drying, we can do a bit more detail and get his eye in, and I think I'll use a bit of indigo for his eye. So just looks a bit crossed, doesn't he? So try and get him. Blend it in a bit, and then go back and put your detail. You can see that properly, can you? So once you've got that far, it's just a question of going in and adding some detail. I put a bit in, and then I clean the brush and I just pull one side of the line off. It's a bit less rigorous, like that. His eye needs a bit more work. So just imagining sort of the shape of where his chin would go, and a bit of shading. Make that a bit darker. It's quite tubby, this one, doesn't it? So you can go in with what colour you like, what detail you want. As I say, it's not the most realistic of seahorses, is it? Still not quite happy with his eye. Just put a little bit of shading underneath it. So keep adding, tweaking. The other thing to think about is the bubbles. So when you're ready to put your bubbles in, basically get a bit of colour that you've used in your Seahorse, a very wet brush, and just get your paint on your brush and tap. But think about the direction of your bubbles. So these bubbles are all heading kind of across the page and up. So I put some blue little ones in. Now I'm going to get an even wetter brush. And now I'm going to put some green in. So some little restrained ones first. And then you can give it a bit of, there we go. And then as I say, I've got my Seahorse. I get a bigger brush now. My Seahorse has got her tail, his tail, round some seaweed, so I'm just going to use a bit more of that sea green. I think I put a fair bit in the bottom there. Okay, I'll tip it a bit to move. I just need to be careful that that looks like it's behind the Seahorse. So when it's dry, I'll come back and work on that. This bit's a bit dark, so I'm just going to take a little bit away. Here, just on one side. Like that. Maybe it needs to be a bit bluer. But I've got some glitter as well here that I can put on. Let's just add a bit of sparkle to parts of your Seahorse. And as I say, you don't have to put the seaweed in, you can just do a plain one, you can do two together. I'd probably keep on, once this is dry, I'll go in and add a bit more detail, but there you go, that's how to do a Brusho Seahorse. I hope you enjoyed it.